residential tech talk, lighting specialist, residential tech
All right, we are back on the Residential Tech Talks podcast. And, what's great about jumping back into this space is that I've had the chance over the last couple of weeks of doing this podcast, since I started doing it for ResTech, to reconnect with so many people in this space that it's been a while since I've chatted with. And that's the same story this week. Mr. Rob Jones, the president of Magnetar North America. Appreciate you jumping on, man. It's been a while, but great to reconnect.
It's good to see you. Good to see you back in the area that we met in, and that it's clear you have a real strong passion for. I love it.
Appreciate it. There's so many great stories to tell in this space, and you've had a few, and I'm excited to tell this one. So this is a really cool one that we're getting to dive into. So I appreciate it, man. So
all good. I have a Forrest Gump kind of background, so it's interesting. At a minimum, it's a very good story.
Well, that's perfect that you mentioned that, because that's my first written down question is, how are you? I got that out of the way, but how you doing, and what's new?
So, early last year, I come from an entertainment industry background, right? So all of my experience, started in, I would say, as a child, computers.
Yeah.
Right. My father owned and published a computer magazine geared towards the home and small business computers in 1975. So going to these computer fairs and standing next to Bill Gates and Steve Jobs when I was, yay tall who knew, right?
Right.
But I've always kind of been around this think different lifestyle, right? And looking at things from a technical aspect, but I've always loved entertainment, and I had friends that were in bands, some of which went on to be very, very successful bands who I dove into the entertainment side of the world. Then in like the mid 90s, I kind of started to see where this internet and entertainment thing was headed on a trajectory, and used some of my music relationships to start a music company, music to consumer company. Sold that to Clear Channel in 2001, and from then on was consulting companies on how to get their media into mobile devices, web placement, converting assets, video encoding, audio encoding, and watching the electronic side of that kind of develop as well.
Yep.
Having a lot of friends who make movies, make records, produce records, caused me to kind of look at some of the things that I felt were absent in the space. Mm-hmm. One of which, a little later on in life, was sound bars. Couldn't quite connect to a sound bar, right?
Yep.
And neither could any of my friends. They were listening to their music on these things and throwing up, quite frankly. So I kind of came up with an idea that there has to be a solution against sound bars, right? And that was a wireless home theater solution. It was a 5.1 based solution. Brought that to market. Kind of was my entry into mass market CE.
Yeah.
Right. Having kind of taken this Forrest Gump like trail. And then through the manufacturer of Enclave's manufacturer, I was introduced to Magnetar, and they had been in the United States through a distributor and wanted to kind of re-strategize and reassess and look at the North American market differently than just through a distributor. Decided to start their own division, and I was introduced to the company and got their story, right? It was kind of something that I could relate to, which is you're doing something that's niche, you're fighting some tremendous headwinds.
Yeah.
Right. And I kind of like that fight. There's a lot of dog in that fight for me.
Definitely.
Right? So it made sense. And the first thing I started to do was kind of look at what it was that they had, the progress that they had made, and how we could actually take Magnetar and really make a brand run for it versus it being just what everybody's looking at as a high-end DVD player.
Right. And certainly some challenges.
So that's kind of how I got from where I was to where I am.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome story. When you look at the brand itself, like when you're introduced to it, obviously I'm sure you did your background research on it, figure out who they are. What did you learn about them that kind of made you gravitate towards wanting to connect with them and do business with them?
What it was number one, they've been an OEM for decades. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the brands that you see out there for physical media going back almost 30 years is them, right? Yeah. So experience wasn't the issue. Then I started to look at, okay, let's look at what we're really talking about here. Where's Blu-ray in this day and age, right? Everybody kind of has just watched it do its thing. But the other side of that was looking at how much respect the brand already had for how young it was, I mean, it's won everything from red dots to ISAs
Yeah.
to, every review that you could possibly have. And respected industry guys from the film and motion picture side of things and the music side of things all have said the same thing about this player. It's like, this is, if I was to do it, this is what I would do.
Yep.
Right. So that, having that Rolodex helped me to kind of be able to do some diligence and say, listen, I'm going to send you this. Let me know what you think. Is this real or is this, marketing?
Yeah.
And everybody came back and said, this is the real deal. And then obviously the awards, the pedigree of itself stood for a lot. So it just made a ton of sense for me to kind of say, okay, I'm gonna commit myself to this and look at what we can do with this as a brand, and also start to focus on some of the other opportunities that this brand could have,
Right.
as well as other messaging wrapped around what was perceived in market as initially as a 4K kind of Blu-ray player.
Right.
Because the player does support so many other things. It's
Yep.
several components in one. It's, SACD, DVD-A, USB-based media, network stored media. It covers a lot of bases, and and it all does so very well, and it all passes through premium top-tier electronics.
Right.
So if there's a solution, in as much as that's what really the word that we need to look at.
Yeah.
Right, is what's available out there to customers in the market today? Not much. Since Oppo left, they were kind of the go-to, right? They've recently stopped servicing their players and supporting their players. So now anybody who's got one, it's until it ends, it ends.
Right.
It's not like you can send it in today and get it fixed, because you can't. We have been blessed with being kind of dubbed the next Oppo. Well, I don't want to say I'm here to replace an Oppo, because I think we're taking it to the next level. The fact that customers and press and everybody else has said, if you're looking for that doesn't exist, this is where you want to look.
There you go. Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic thing for us.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
it makes sense. It makes sense all across the board for us to start really putting together something that makes sense. It's a global brand. So we're not just North America. We're not just Asia. It's worldwide. So we have a little different perspective as how we look at things, right?
Definitely.
What people say, well, nobody's buying Blu-ray anymore. Well, that's not true in all areas of the world.
Right. And it's funny. You see some of the way things go occasionally with some of the streaming. We're talking consumer level, but streaming things and how things break. It's nice to have that physical media backup. Am I right? But I also I imagine too. On the surface, looking at the product, like when a consumer that may not be familiar with it, everything you're saying. It's the thing that hits them, right? Is the fact that, oh, wait, it's got a disc, tray that folds out. So like that's where their mind goes, right? So is that kind of, to your point of what you're describing, that's kind of the idea that you have to break.
It's the default thinking, right? Because it's, I mean, listen, on the front of the player, UHD,
right?
Blu-ray, it's got a disc tray. We used to joke around it on computers; those were for coffee, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it certainly is the most obvious component of it, and that's why we wanted to, and I particularly wanted to kind of start messaging something to say, look, yes, it's physical media, there's no question, but there are other options. If you have a massive music library that's ripped, we got you, right? If you rip your own movies, we got you, right? So there's so much more that this covers that I think we're talking about, right? And I think that especially when you look at a marketplace today where it's funny because the pushback we get is usually a couple things. Nobody's buying Blu-ray anymore. Not true.
Right.
Still out there. And as long as you understand, I'm not here to change the world, right? What I am here to do is to offer a solution to a specific customer who has this specific problem, which is they have 1,000 discs that they've been collecting over decades, and they've got nowhere to go, right? And there's a lot more of those than you think, right? The other thing that's happening is while yes, without question, disc sales have been certainly, just munched up by streaming. There's also the same comparison as sound bars to discrete full home theater systems, which is, the lines at McDonald's are always full, but there's always a good steakhouse in town that does really good business. That's about the experience, right? And now you're talking about what we do for a living. right? We want
Yeah.
to deliver an experience to a customer who knows what they're looking for, that has these libraries, or even they're starting now. And they're starting now because they're frustrated with the fragmentation of streaming, how titles move from this service to this service to this service. And next thing you know, you're subscribing to all these services for one or two movies. And then you're getting it in a squished version of 4K, which after you've invested all this money into your home theater, do you really, are you really happy? A lot of those things are we see as pushback. Well, my customers have flipped to streaming. Well, how many of those customers have you asked, what the size of their physical library is? Because you might be surprised, right?
Yeah.
And they've just written it off. They said, well, I've got stuck with this mid-tier player because that's all there is, right? Or my Apple died and I'm just kind of screwed.
Right.
Right. And so it's about awareness. And that's our job as a brand, is to go get ourselves in front of that customer, either through a dealer, an integrator, an installer, or through them flipping through, Facebook or Instagram or wherever, they find love for the equipment they look for.
Which I know I want to dive into that with you in a little bit here in a second. One of the things, too, that also strikes me, aside from just the fact that tray's there, it's a gorgeous product. You mentioned some of the awards and the red dots and things like that.
Yeah.
It is I want to give you a chance to speak towards that, too, because, I mean, it is beautiful. It's like weird to say about ultimately a media player, right? But like you look at it, just the kind of the way the colors, mesh, and you get the sort of like the steel on the bottom, and then it flips to the top. Like it's just well designed, well thought out from top to bottom.
That's one of the attractive things as well, was I knew the company was committed, right? Because they weren't just putting, a bunch of plastic together and here you go.
Right.
Everything about that player is meticulous, from the board design to the boards to the components in it. Everything has been thought about and put together. I mean, the UDP 900 is 31 pounds. Right. I mean, and it's not acoustic bricks or filled with sand or
right.
not any of those things. It's a real machine. Right. Yeah. And that's, we expect that if we're going to ask the prices that we ask, that we, bring the player and the products up to the level that merit those prices.
Yeah.
And deliver the performance that's expected of something, so it's not, you can have a really pretty house that looks pretty on the outside, and you get inside and all of a sudden you go, whoa, what happened? That's not us.
No, that's awesome.
That's not us.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't come off as something that was just brought to market as a also ran or hey, I have an idea. This was brought with intent.
Yeah. And the chances I've had to see it have been, at some of these shows that I've been at recently. I talk about getting reconnected. So it speaks to, I think, your work, your team's work on getting the name out there recently. A couple of buying groups and Oasis and HTA, and just a lot of great work. So talk about the efforts there to, first the efforts to get out into those groups and what you're doing there, but then also the feedback side of it too, right? What are you hearing from them, several months in now as these partnerships develop?
One of the things that we wanted to do was, because of the way the initial introduction to the U.S. market was made, was through an exclusive single distributor, part and parcel of kind of ensuring that we're not getting put into a specific corner, and we can actually control the business, the message, and all of the downline, right, was for us to obviously start the North American division, build up a base of direct dealers, right, where nobody can support our players like we do, regardless if it's a dealer or distributor. Nothing personal against dealer distributors. They're going to come to us anyways. So we want to have the relationships. We want our dealers to know that the company's here to support them, that they're not going to be middleman, right, and potentially stuck, which happens. We want our customers to know that we have, 24/7 email support, a US-based call center, phone lines where we actually answer the phones, right? All of those things lend themselves towards what's not happening. Even with the big name brands, it's all offshored, reading the manual type of support in a lot of cases. Even on some of the high end stuff, I've been surprised at some of the kind of after sales service where you kind of look at it and go, they don't know, they're not looking at their customers in the right way, right? And that's something that I'm very conscious of. I want to make sure that our customers understand we're there. Our customers being twofold, our D2C customers and our B2B customers. So I need a dealer to have the confidence to say, I'm going to sell this product. I'm going to put this in somebody's theater, and I know if it's a Saturday night at 8:00 and they're calling me bitching,
right,
that I can get somebody on the phone, and you're gonna.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
that's
awesome.
that's the commitment we make. And so to that end, the buying groups make sense in as much as it's a path for us to uh, go to groups of dealers and say, listen, we've got a great product that you may not have thought about, that may not have been on your radar. But if you pick up the phone and ask your customers, some of these guys have been out there 30, 40, 50 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have customers with physical media libraries.
Yep.
So, number one, we're a solution, but we're a gateway drug, right? We're a way to pick up the phone, call your customer and say, listen, I ran across this player. I know you've got a physical media library. Just wanted you to take a look at it. We're happy to bring one out to you. It gets the van in front of the house onto the property where the customer can potentially buy into a new amp or buy into a new, right? So there's what I don't want to be the free kitchen. I don't want to be the free microwave in a kitchen renovation.
Right.
However, I think we are a very good opportunity for dealers to pick up the phone and talk to their customers about this product.
Yeah. I love
and the buying
that.
groups are a great way to do that because it's a great pathway for me to be able to call up Hank and say, Hank, I need to talk to 300 dealers quick, and I've got this message in this product, and I think would be a great solution, and everybody wins. Buying groups are definitely a great asset for that.
I love that. Sitting here, I'm kind of ashamed it didn't dawn on me that that's like the way you could position that, right? Is to have it be a solution for a dealer to go, talk to a customer that they might not have heard from in 5-7 years, and say, hey, I know you got the things break, and you're talking about, at the top of this conversation about some of those old brands that don't exist anymore, and they're going to need a solution, whether they know it or not at this point. So,
or they already do and just kind of wrote it off and figured,
they don't exist
stuck with
anymore.
streaming,
right? Yeah,
and they don't have the Kaleidoscape type budget,
right?
Even though Kaleidoscape is down where we are in certain products, right? I think one of the funny things for us is I hear it all the time from dealers where they say, my guys are buying Kaleidoscape. Well, we're not an either or proposition.
Right.
It doesn't have to, right? That doesn't make kind of doesn't make sense because there are customers who that great product. I have one. I love it. Right. Serves the need for. If they're looking for a hard drive storage type, solution that has a movie store and it's more turnkey, great. That's a fantastic solution. But what if a customer has that and a bunch of discs? What are they spinning those discs on, right? If they have a big music libraries, how many different components does it take to make up the one we have that can tighten up their chain and get less HDMI issues across, right?
Right. No, that's
so
awesome.
The same thing with streaming, right? My customers are just happy with Apple TV. Well, okay, but let's talk about what the options are that you can introduce to them that coexist with Apple TV.
Right.
What do they do about titles that aren't on Apple TV? Right. I mean, those types of things, or their music that they want to listen to at full res, or SACDs, or there's just so many different conversations to be had that we often find dealers, we're trying to prod them a bit to say, listen, you've been around a long time. You got customers who could use this product regardless of whether they have Kaleidoscape or Apple TV.
Right. So it almost feels like so much innovations happen that they seem to forget about the fact that the physical media does still exist and it is in people's homes. Like I'm thinking about my media center downstairs. Can't tell you the last time I opened it, but at the same time, it's there, right? So like I want to use it, and at certain points, you're going to need something to be able to.
It's funny. One of a friend of mine he's a supervising sound designer for Warner Brothers, right? And he's done a ton of big movies. And I sent him a player, and I said, "Let me know what you think from a studio perspective, right? We've got it in a ton of studios, both music and motion picture, right? Production studios." And I went to him and I said, "You take it, live with it. Let me know what you think." And he came back. He goes, "Dude," he goes, "I got to tell you," he goes, "I actually started watching Blu-rays and discs that I haven't watched in years that were sitting there, and I forgot."
Yeah.
And now, dude, anytime I'm going to watch a movie that is an experience that I care about,
that's the way.
Your player, not
that's
streaming,
awesome,
right?
Yeah.
And that I literally said, "Bro, that's a quote." Like I don't need you to get techie on me. That can I use that? Right. And that's, if you look, part of our marketing is him saying, "This has reinvigorated my my expectations on when I watch something."
It's like fashion, right? If bell bottoms can make a comeback, I'm sure Blu-ray discs can too. Right.
Yeah. And again, it's I'm not here to fool anybody and say that, all of a sudden there's this massive Blu-ray comeback. Right. but there are segments of that channel that are growing, right?
Mhm.
Steelbooks,
Absolutely.
collector sets. What studios are doing is they're wrapping more stuff around the title, right? So
Yeah.
if you go to a lot of, especially a lot of these boutique studios, Shout and Scream and Vinegar Syndrome, and they have these really cool collector sets where the movie is the center, but there's other things that dress around it, right?
Yeah.
So now you're
Absolutely.
going in there and you're spending, 100, 150, $200 for now what is a collector's item,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's
And it's the
incredible.
same thing that I saw in the music business where we all used to go to the record store. If you're of our age group, or my age
Yeah.
group at least, you go to the record store,
Yep.
right? And there was nothing more fun than going to Tower Records and spend a couple hours in there, right?
Yeah.
And that's gone. But what's happened is music now has become through the phone. It's become the streaming
Right.
thing. It's become the thing of convenience, right?
Mhm.
It's not really transactional in that way anymore.
Right.
So what bands have done is you now see CDs and vinyl at the merch table where the T-shirts are and the
Yep.
hats and right. It's now a piece of merch.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that the studios have adopted that and it's working. The collector sets, steel books, that is actually a growing channel.
Yeah.
Literally a growing channel.
Building super fans.
Article in the New York Times over the weekend. Kino Lorber. Lorber said my collector sets are up 15% this year.
Wow.
Like this isn't a dead format by any stretch of the imagination. Right. It's just kind of got its audience, and if you can talk to that audience, there's business to be done, right? Oh. And fortunately, the guys who are buying the collector sets and the steel books and the higher end, higher dollar physical media products. Right. I mean, you got Rhino, who's coming out with new Phil Collins records on Blu-ray audio this month.
Right.
Those guys are usually the high end guys.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who are the ones that are spending the money on the gear to listen to it the way it should be listened to. Really,
the ones that appreciate it, and the ones that also can afford to, live out those desires of theirs. Right? So, no,
exactly.
That's awesome. Right?
I've seen our product in some home theaters, and I just kind of went, boy, are we the small guy, right? It's like you feel like the old Walkman at that point. But but it's
awesome,
but it's good. I mean, again, I know that there's. Marketing is a wonderful thing. There's always the, better quality play. Well, we all know it's better than streaming, right? And now you've got, Kaleidoscape entering the market and in a big, big way. Mm-hmm. And, after some kind of rough and tumble on the way up, they've hit their stride and they're doing very well.
Yep.
And you see the forums filled with, oh, no, Kaleidoscape's better than Blu-ray. Kaleidoscape's better than 4K. It's better than blah, blah, blah. And look, here's what I would say to that argument. What I would say to that argument is there are titles on Blu-ray 4K that look better than Kaleidoscape encodes. There are Kaleidoscape encodes that look better than Blu-ray. It's not all about bit rate. If you say you're going to do something 65 bits on average or megabits, that's great, right? But that doesn't always mean A, that's necessary. B, it doesn't always mean that it's going to look better. And there are some crap discs as well. I mean, there are some 4K discs that I've seen and put on our player, and I went, get that out of there. Because, you know what I mean? Just, so it goes both ways. But the reality is, I can tell you what we most commonly hear. What we most commonly hear is, I don't see a difference.
To the consumer, that depends on how closely they're able to look. Right.
What's funny is it brings you into that story that's like, a person of affluence that can afford all this wonderful gear still may not necessarily know what he's looking at. He just knows it's really pretty.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And he's not going to be looking at that Top Gun Maverick in the canyon, bullet flying out of the gun from 2 feet away to make sure that he's got that sharpness because of those extra bits. Right.
Yeah.
So, we try and avoid those comparisons as far as that goes. We just say, look, we are a particular product for a particular person who has a particular niche and they have a fetish and how they want to watch their things, or we're a solution to someone who's got a big library with that may also have Kaleidoscape too. We don't care.
Hey, y'all
I'm not here to replace anything. No. I'm here to be a solution.
Can coexist, and to your point, it's got a market that it's intended for. And I mean, to say you guys are aggressively and effectively attacking it would be an understatement, because I mean, it's awesome to see the name get out there as fast as it has through the groups and in this space. So I know
I've got a great PR firm in Castor as well. I got to give them kudos. They're
They do their
Cather
thing.
has done
They're in my inbox every day with you.
yeah, no, they are.
Love them for it.
If there's a team that you want on the battlefield, I certainly would tell anybody. Send them in, boys.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate them and you for setting up this and being able to take the time and chat about it, man. It's always good, like I said, to catch up and reconnect with you and see what you've got going on, because there's always something great.
There's something cool, and we've got for CEDIA, we've got
Yep.
some really cool stuff coming.
Which I know when we're dropping, it's early August, so probably not able to talk about it. I don't know.
Not quite,
but we'll be there.
I can tell you there's new toys.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
Always.
And I will tell you there are partnerships that are going to make people go,
oh,
whoa.
Ooh. Okay. Well, we'll be on the lookout then.
Yeah, it's we are lining up the forces.
That's awesome to hear.
Right?
And
so you'll see an announcement at CEDIA that people will go, I get it. I totally get it.
Awesome. Well, we will be looking out for it for sure. But for now, like I said, appreciate the time and look forward to catching up there in Denver and just down the road, man. It's always great to catch up with you.
I'm sure we'll see you there.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Residential Tech Talks podcast, please subscribe to us on the platform you're listening on. Also, be sure to follow Residential Tech Today on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Residential Tech Talk, savviness lighting specialist, Residential Tech Talk.
Home automation, smart device, home or smart house.